Good afternoon on what is a mild, bright and sunny day. It is Wednesday the 25th of October. I've got a nice hot cup of tea. And quite a heavy parcel to unbox. I mean, that's, you can see it's quite thick. So, what I have got in here is just get, oh, it doesn't, even that doesn't work. Didn't want to, I'm having to actually tear it open because that didn't want to, the glue didn't want to break. And what I have got is these two things. So I'm already done the Johnstown Compendium title. So I'm going to have a look at this monster of a book, which is Forbidden North, Volume 1. It's for Old School Essentials, so it's an OSR, Old School Renaissance campaign and setting. And that means it's compatible with a lot of other retro clones. So, and this is, let's say, basically published by, I can't see who it's actually published by because it's the Hummock, or Hummock, at Pulp Hummock Press. So, on the Arctic frontier, at the border between the mountains and the west beyond, looms Castle Thargenon. For centuries, the Skullgod ruled his domain from his blackened throne. But 20 years have passed since the routing of his armies, and now the castle lies abandoned with the riches unclaimed. Yet, death still lurks in the shadows of the ruins, and ancient doom arises from the depths of this place. So this is actually the first part of a 3-part series. And this runs to a total of 470 pages. So that makes for a massive campaign. So let's get started. And we have got the credits page, oddly placed, I think, not normally placed on that side. And we've got acknowledgements. And this is, and then we get into the actual contents. We've got a map of the Forbidden North first. And this is actually state given as a colour book, but it's not colour. It is black and white. It's just the quality of the paper is better. Okay. And then we get into the introduction of the Forbidden North. Module overview, and your raster and feedback, what you need to play, and then new monsters, read aloud text boxes. So it's basically explaining the format of the book. This is going to be quite a bit difficult book to go through because it is such a large, thick book. So we've got Volume 1, Chapter Overview, and there are 10 chapters, and followed by 4 appendices and a glossary of names. And then, so this is gods. This is actually for Gods of the Forbidden North. So running gods. So you've got start discussion of how to do it, whether it's open world sandbox, adventure path, and then encounter design principles. So this is all basically going through the basics of running the campaign, what you need to do, what you need to think about, adventure rewards. You have a campaign summary. Which begins with a brief history of the North, including its cosmic wounding, cataclysm of chaos, and then end of the Enarok, call for adventurers, and then beginning the campaign. Now I'm thinking this. I mean, when I'm looking at this, it's just on a very simple kind of reaction. I'm kind of thinking of Dwimmer Mount, James Malaszewski's campaign. It's going to be very different, but it's looking sort of like dissimilar, but a little more complex because it's actually, talking about embedded character creation and demands. We've got discussion also of a note on alignment, and then we have Volume 1, Adventure Summary. Before we start in Chapter 1, Ancient Tales of Frigid Titherion. So we've got an event timeline summary, chronicles, it's giving you the history. Again, I like the artwork in here. That's a nice piece. Sense of cosmic influence, and then we have sort of like almost the antithesis of that, the preceding piece. It's actually going through the cosmology and its influence upon the setting. Bygone wars in proto-history. So it's really delving into the backstory of the campaign setting. And then so we have here the Voyage of the Skull God, Conquest of the Unruck, Confessions of the Black Moon. And then the Pantheon explains here the Pantheon of the Holy Nine are, and then you get to the point where Castle Tharganon is completed. There we go. And you know he's evil because he's got that kind of horns that curve up and backwards. Very low-key. And then we move through the history to the flight of the Skull God, Advent of the Empire. It's campaign against the Skull God and its forces, and then Tytherion becomes a new frontier, waiting to be explored. And then we get into sub-Arctic cultures, so languages, northern cultures. So this is nicely putting the setting, into context. A lot of the theology and the background. You're getting a very different sense of feel to this. It's not atypical fantasy. It's going to feel a bit harsher because of the environment. And then we discuss the religion of the North. And multiple faiths going to be discussed. And then move a bit further on. Forward a bit because we're going to go through all the gods one by one, like the Fellowship of the Smiling Cloth, or and then we go on to City Under the Aurora, chapter 3, City of Valkengard. Government and politics. And you've got a map of Valkengard, its districts and notable places. As I say, it's quite it's a very heavy book, quite a lot to it. But this is setting the campaign up, everything, basically playable content, describing the city in detail, and you've got a really nice range of artwork in here. Table of rumours, so you can basically use those to generate encounters or just background flavour. And then you have an encounter there with a giant, which is one of the ones which you wish was in colour actually. Another piece there. And then we've got the chapter 4, which is the Eye of Jakara. This is the opening adventure, Voyage of the Heroes. Prologue, gateway to the north. They're on the way north. They're going to get involved in the big adventure eventually. So they're going through actually several steps. Wake up call, hull walk, medical clearance, imperial paperwork. Sense of progression and getting closer to what they want to do. And then they arrive in Falkengard there. And then part 1, a stroll down Markham Street. There's an alleyway ambush. getting them involved. They're just fresh off the boat, and something goes wrong, and then where the adventure begins, and so on. And they just have. It's almost like they're having a slice of life, in the city before the adventure even has started. And then, devil's in the details. They get actual adventure, and there's the ambush site. That's a quite nice map. Do you like that? They end up at the Ministry of Permits. And honestly, I love any adventure where you have something like the Ministry of Permits, because it automatically presents a sort of like, this city or this place has civilization. It's advanced enough to it has administered the rights to go and do things. And going and getting a permit is a bit of role playing. It's a bit sort of, okay, and now I've unlocked this further bit of the adventure. I can go and do this. Then we get to the conclusion. Before we go into adventure rewards, got a list there of future party goals as well, adventure rewards, and then the next part, chapter 5, the land of the long twilight, and it just starts discussing by light and weather, climate and weather and so on. So essentially the things that the player characters are going to notice are sort of like as they get off the boat, it's going to be cold, it's going to be damp, and they may well not be prepared for it as well as they thought. So you're dealing with, you've got tables here for Arctic temperature levels, and then we go on to the geography of the region, because this is where the player characters are going to be moving outside the city. And the city walls, in part, are going to protect them from the temperature. It is going to be warm in the city, but not by much. So we have geographical features, encounter tables. So click forward through these, and they're all basically organised by different locations, such as the glacial ice fields, or Gajol River, or the hibernal boglands. And here we have actual map of the Forbidden North. We're getting a map as a hex map, so it's not as nice, of course, as the earlier map, which just show. See if I can find that back at the beginning. So I can just show. So okay, so there we've got the hex map. Okay, and there's the original map at the beginning, which gives you a lot more flavour. But the hex map will help you move around. The table, move around the region. And here we have particular locations like the village of Irif. A bugbear camp, and so on, just locations which you can discover. The Kindly One's Tower, again with a nice piece of illustration. It's a Fortress of Grief, someone climbing it, or climbing the walls, and then a Nightmare Den. That's definitely something you don't want to find, whether it's in a nightmare den or not. And then we have, say, a section here that says Tasogiwa's Slumber there. So we have also elements of the mythos, if you, to a certain extent. And you obviously almost have a scene that's almost like out of, the wizard with his hat. That's almost very Gandalf-like there. The silent caves of Underlake. So lots of little locations to explore throughout the region, even before the player characters get to the big dungeon itself. They've got to just survive and explore. Like the Dioclops cave. There they are. Then we have the Shrine of the Sun Healers. And on the other page, Whirlpool and Sunken Venator. A ruined cottage. And there the player characters are staking out this ruined cottage. So just lots of different locations, and I'm flipping through just to move on because. So we've actually got a map of one of the villages. So that's Haito. Not every village or location is mapped. Broga Mine, and again something nasty in that mine, I bet. Skalberg as another location fully mapped, and we have a ram layer, complete with an illustration, and then just a moment of rest there on the rocks above the ice fields. Blood Hollow. Hidden village of Shadow Hearth. Just flipping through the book, just to show you the conclusion of that. Basically, the conclusion essentially of the wilderness will never be. So, it's unlike other chapters, the wilderness will never be included until the entire campaign ends. It's simply too vast for a party to clear out, and that's a really fantastic conclusion. So basically, say, look, it's too big for you to, basically deal with all yourself. But okay, here's a full list of the rewards you could get if you did that. Okay, and so we've got experience points, coinage and treasure to be found, and magic items. And then we move on to Morkal's Tomb, chapter 6. So dealing with the Builders of the Tomb first, and then Cliffs of Morkal, and we've actually got like a proper dungeon there. So fully detailed, even got a giant ball trap there. Conclusion. So that's quite a quick encounter. I mean, relatively, in comparison, ends with future party goals, adventure rewards. Just show how quick that is. In the previous chapter, it's just a few pages. It's just relatively quite a few pages, but this is, quarter of the length before we go on to Chapter 7, Bog Ruins of Fort Ikenvar. And here we have the Bog Isles, details of the Bog Isles and how to approach the fortress. We actually have a pagoda on the Western Isles. We have the Slavers of Shun on the Western Isles, basic island, and here we have an actual floor plan of the fort. And he's occupied by slavers, and you can have a conversation with them, but mostly, we have a section on slaver conversation, but because they're slavers, player characters will want to put an end to that. And then we have, having looked at the Western Island, we'll look at the Eastern Island, where there's a lurker in the darkness, and mysteries to be found, worked into the walls, the caves, the petroglyphs. You don't actually see a map of the Eastern Island. I'm sure there is one. Just clicking through. Really nice artwork accompanying these locations. You almost wish what you actually had. This is really nice, illustrating it for the game master's benefit. You really want it for the players as well. And then we get to the conclusion for that area. There doesn't seem to be a map for the eastern island at all. And then late to the Barrow of 8, chapter 8. Discovering the Barrow and accessing the Barrow. And then descent into the hill. And there we are. There's a map of the Barrow and a cross section as well. And a nice image of the player character sort of like descending to it by rope. That's almost like me, because the idea of me going down on that rope is, yeah. So, and then a breakdown of what the denizens and contents of the barrows are, section by section. Again, conclusion with monsters, treasure, magic items, and so on before we get into the Lost Temple of Nook. And now we have the surface ruins of the temple and some of its denizens. The artwork there's a little bit rough, but here we have to the Lost Temple, the upper section on the ground. So you've got the surface ruins and then its location depicted as well. And then the Under Temple, where you will find the Demon and the Damned. The temple below, down in the Under Temple. Nice map. I think the maps are the Dyson Lygos, if I am not mistaken. And again, you've got the repeating of those petroglyphs, tying back into the cave. And that comes to a close. So you've really got quite a lot, essentially, a conclusion, and you've got a bit more detail here, sort of like the campaign's pushing forward. Once you get to this point, you start exploring here. So you have the Inarok developments, Fate of the Faithful, Return of the Elders. So here, the actions of the player characters are beginning to affect the wider world. And again, this section ends with future party goals, adventure rewards, and the like, before moving on to the Watcher on the Water. This is chapter 10, and you are at Tower Vortorak, or Temple of Vortoriak, and where you will encounter Cult of the Magath. So you've got talking discussion of its cult, its organisation, leadership, and the Curse of Balor, which presumably it is hopefully suffering because it's an evil cult, I bet. And the custodians, the island, and then we get discussing those, and then the island and the tower exterior. So discussing what's in there, the nature of it, before we get on to a description of what the tower and a map. There we go. Floor plans. And the player characters exploring, making their way into the up to the stairs to the tower entrance. And we have the second floor. Where you may well encounter him. And there are secret locations there as well, such as a secret balcony overlook, and in a sealed room, there's a dictum sphere. I don't know what that is, but I don't think it's going to be safe for whomever encounters that. Third floor. A strange encounter with a statue. And objects in stasis cells, left over from who knows what. And then player characters have to face the Doom Gauntlet. Finally, we get to the tiny little fourth floor of the tower, and here we reach a major quest goal. I've got a nice image of the region and the tower itself, and again, nice section of sort of conclusion. You know, development here of the Maggoth cult. Future party goals, how the grateful people of Hyto react to the news, so on, magical items, that sort of thing. And then we have the appendices. I'll quickly go through those. So, full appendix of monsters and non-player characters. So, they're all repeated there. Just to show you. I've just lost my pages there. So that's the appendix of monsters and non-player characters. Then we've got the magic items and spells section. Referee rules for playing through the campaign. Ability loss, acid avalanche, crumbling ice shelves, collapsing ice. You know, scripts to be deciphered. Hypothermia, lava as well. Slippery ice. Quest and discovery rewards. Nicely summarised there at the end. And then we have glossary of names. That's literally all the names of all the characters in the campaign, so you can just look them up and get an idea of who they are. And then we have an index, details small but useful, and then supporters, because this was a Kickstarter project, and finally in print, and then a listing of the authors and artists. That's to be appreciated. I think that's a nice inclusion, even though it makes the book a little bit longer. So 470 pages. That is Gods of the Forbidden North, Volume 1 from from Pulp Hummock Press. I think that's going to keep you occupied for several months worth of gaming. Yeah, absolutely. So, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be able to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a package containing a book or game, in this case, the first part of a campaign setting, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.